Wednesday is the day I will poison my father. The book says it takes 3 whole days for the effects of datura to wear off. 3 whole days. Ha! When you think about it, Wednesday is the perfect day for a crime. For one, it's a school day. I will be innocent. This is between my father and me. By now, I know the telltale signs of his latest indiscretion. The women wear it like an oozing sore. This new one, Mama Malpina, is following the same well-trodden pattern. 4 months in, and Mama Malpina has taken to invading my mother. She faces her with a full frontal threat, hands on hips, eyes blazing, her face set in stone. Mama Malpina, the quiet shadow, has disappeared. I can only guess what my father whispers to her in exchange for her favors. What does he promise her to summon such attitude? I watch the tug of war between the 2 women, who are now unlikely almost co-wives, and I wonder how this war will end. But her fall came swiftly. It wasn't at the hands of my mother, no. Let's just say it was a daughter helping out her hapless mother, a mother who now spends her time moping at the mercy of these 2 people, my father and Mama Malpina. This is how she caused her own demise. One of the interesting things about becoming a writer is that I have discovered how to be cruel. And I enjoy it very much. So I'm very happy to stop there, and I hope you're suffering. I have written poetry. This is my first short story that I'm ready to stand and admit it is mine. I have written others, but I will deny them. And in 2014, I was in Uganda and I did a reading of my first play. Very few people know about it because I kept it hush-hush. I had written a play during a Sundance Fellowship that I did in 2010, and it was an amazing process. And so I worked on this play, and then when the Kampala International Theatre Festival was formed, and the first festival was last year, I was invited to do a reading. And one of the things about being an artist that this been there, done that can never work is that you're always saying yes to things and then you think later. So constantly jumping off the cliff all the time. So I jumped off the cliff and I said, yes, I will come and do a reading of my play. And the problem is it wasn't finished. It had taken several years and it wasn't finished yet. And I had two days to finish it. And there I was in Kampala with this play. And I was going to perform it, read it to total strangers. At least if it was here, they're my friends, and I would have at least bribed them a bit and said, just be kind. Please, get in, organize yourself somewhere and clap loudly. But I couldn't do that. I didn't know anybody, they didn't know me. But I went and I managed to do this reading. The night before, I kept thinking, I can walk now. I can walk to Nairobi. I can just disappear. But I did the reading, and it was the most amazing thing. Because what it did for me is the response was amazing, and then it confirmed to me that I am a writer. I am a playwright. So that was one of the big things. So this year, I went back. I went back with a new play. And my play last year it was called Black Maria on Koinange Street. I haven't premiered it here. I premiered it in Uganda. So I went back this time with a fully fledged performance. And we spent 2 months with a team. I got the directors, we got a cast, and 2 months rehearsals, etc. And we went to Uganda and had a fully fledged performance. And the play went down incredibly well. And one of the things that I've learned during this time is that I have come to experience courage. Not as a word out there, but as something that you look at, you feel. You can feel the fear. You can feel the horror of the things that you're doing, and you're wondering, why am I doing these things one more time to myself? And then you keep going. And the wonderful thing I think that I have learned, I wrote it down because it was such a good quote. I can't remember it offhand. And during this time, one of the thing I learned is that the size of your life, the size of it, is actually dictated by the courage by which you live it. So how big is your life? What is it you're taking on? What is it you're afraid of? What is it you really want to do? So having a full-fledged performance and taking 9 people to Kampala this year in November, was just beyond amazing for me. And I now recognize myself as a playwright as well as a poet. Okay, so I'm going to go back again to look at being a poet and the lessons that I've learned from that. So when I first started out, I wrote one poem, and then I wrote another one, and then I wrote another one. And some people are here in the audience who were subjected to my utter excitement. Every time I wrote a poem, I'd be like, oh my goodness, listen to this, you must! And, embarrassing my family, my husband, at dinners, etc., insisting on reading out my poems, and of course, people who are not my immediate relatives were like, oh, very good. And then eventually wrote something that we created I and other people created called Cut Off My Tongue. And the success from that became now a blog. Before nobody knew me. So everything I did was new. Who are you? That whatever opinions they had didn't really matter in terms of an opinion about me as a writer. But then they now know me. I've done this thing, and they've got opinions, or you write about politics, or you write about women. And even worse, I know me. I now have a way, maybe 50 poems. I know how I write. I know the issues. And one of the things I started to try to do is I started to try to copy. I figured I've got a formula now. So I'm going to use this format, and I'm going to use that format, and I'm going to produce more work using these formats. It didn't work. So that being there, done that for an artist doesn't work. Once again, I had to begin from the beginning. I had to go back to the beginning when I'm writing my poetry. Back to the beginning, jump off the cliff. But this time, I'm jumping off the cliff from the perspective of my growth. I'm no longer jumping off the cliff from who I used to be. I'm jumping off the cliff from who I am today and the growth that I have made. And that is the thing that constantly leaves me in a state of being in danger, which is critical for art. If you're going to do anything worth anything, you need to be in a state of danger, constantly taking a risk, constantly taking risks, constantly jumping off the cliff. So in terms of those really are my two lessons. The lesson about courage and also the lesson about how to continuously create new and fabulous work, constantly being at risk. Some of you who may know the original Cut Off My Tongue, when we filled it with everything, because we were also excited about the writing, I am now going to end by performing one of my favorite pieces from that time. And it's called Was I Ever? Was I ever like that? Like that? My shoulders a wide expanse of certainty, so straight and firm? Was I like that ever? My hips, an unasked question mark in search of insolence and answers as I walked you by. Did young men slide me looks from under lingering eyes and then simply smile? Did old men follow me with brazen stares and then deeply sigh? Was I ever like that? Like that? My skin, a promised challenge, bronze, soft, firm, all at the same time? Did I too walk with cruel insouciance? Yes, I said cruel insouciance. Flashing teeth and careless pride? Did I leave men breathing sharply as I walked shapely by? Was I ever like that? Like that? Like that? When I too was young. Thank you. Thank you.